Welcome friends, Lorraine back with you with another card video. Once again playing around with the Simon Says Stamp February 2021 card kit. Love you very much. So today I've made 10 more cards using this kit, and I really wanted to use some of those cut apart images that came with the kit. So 7 of those 10 cards will be using those. Using these images is a super fast way to throw a card together if you are pressed for time, have limited supplies in your craft room, or if you're kind of in a funk and want to make something but just need a little creative kick in the tushy to get you back in that creative groove. There are many people who make cards and work solely with pattern paper packs and use these cut aparts exclusively as their images, and they don't do any other stamping or die cutting, or very little of it. And I love making those cards just as much as I love making the more time consuming, more detailed cards. It's really all a matter of personal preference. I like going back and forth. Sometimes I actually use these paper pad packs and the cut aparts when making cards for kids. Like to send them to the classroom for birthday party invitations or their Valentine's, Christmas, or Halloween cards. I find I can mass produce them at a much faster rate, and usually if I'm sending in cards, I'm also doing things like making cakes or cupcakes or goodie bags, so it definitely is a time saver. So those were my first 3 cards. I actually did use some foundation die sets today from Queen & Company, sets number 1 and 4. I used the black card bases that came in with the kit, all of the pattern paper came from the kit as well, and I didn't do any additional stamping or coloring for any of these cards. They literally took me seconds to no more than just a few minutes to make them. So we are now putting together card number 4 already. See, that is literally how quick they take. I did use several sketch designs, which you can find all over the internet. Many card manufacturing supply companies have them. You can find them, print them out, and they're really just a guide. You don't have to follow them strictly. You can, or you don't. You can just use them for inspiration, whichever works best for you. Sometimes I follow them very strictly, and sometimes I don't. So that strip in pink was from the Queen & Company Foundation. The reason I cut the center out is because I really wanted that blue and heart patterned paper panel to lay flat and not be raised up in the center, so I removed the middle piece of it so it lays flush. I didn't want there to be any bulk or it to kind of be wonky looking raised up in that one section, so I just cut it in half. I'm going to go ahead and stick that little cut apart on, and then bam, that card is done. I mean, literally, guys, just seconds, and they're cute. Next card, again using a sketch from My Favorite Things. Just using it for a little bit of inspiration. That sketch has those 3 1/4-inch, I believe it was, strips. I wound up just using 2 pattern paper strips and then doing 2 strips with a metallic pink washi tape, which I had. I'm going to go ahead and add that on there. And the glue I am using is the Nuvo glue. That is my favorite. It does dry matte and clear. I do see some people using like the Tombow glue, and I have tried doing that, and I find using that glue that it is very liquidy and it comes out very heavy and it really warps the paper. And I've tried a lot of liquid glues, and the one that I keep going back to is this Nuvo glue. It does not warp your paper. I use it when I am adhering my embellishments. I do use it while adhering paper to paper. It does not warp. You cannot feel the wetness or the warping on the underside of it. So I do highly recommend using the Nuvo glue for all card making purposes, to be honest with you. I still have some Tombow glue and I just don't even use it anymore. In fact, it's going to be handed off to my granddaughter probably at the end of this video, now that I think of it, because it's just not worthy to stay in my craft room anymore. Next sketch is again going to be a My Favorites thing. I did pull out a scallop rectangle. Not quite sure I know who the manufacturer of that die was. Sorry guys. Also did pull out the Ginny K Labels die. Label that on a piece of the powder blue cardstock that came in the kit for that little sentiment on. And that was the cut apart. I just die cut the image out. And I do have a little extra strip of that pattern paper, which I'm just going to throw on the bottom of the inside just for a little interest. And then that card is done. Once again, using a My Favorite Things sketch. Going to put that cut apart on a powder blue frame. Again, using the powder blue card base. And just going to adhere 2 strips of that pattern paper to the front. Going to get that adhered down there. We'll go ahead and place that cut apart on the front, and then that will be that card. And then here are the 7 cards that I made using those cut aparts. There were 8 in the kit, 2 sheets that had 4 on each sheet. I did not use the 8th one. I just wasn't feeling compelled. So they were my 7 cards. So I am going to go ahead and make 3 more cards. This one's going to be a slimline, and I do have one of my bears still left over from when I Copic colored from a previous video. So I'm going to go ahead and take out that Like, Love, and Adore You stamp from the set. Using my Misty 2.0. And again, if you have an original Misty and you are considering purchasing the upgrade, it is well worth the investment. Some very wonderful design changes were made. The most important, obviously, is that the lid overhangs the base, so you can actually lift the lid now without having to put a little piece of tape on it to kind of rig a handle, which you see a lot of people still using the old Misties do in their videos. That overhanging lid does eliminate the need for that, which is by far, for me, that was what sold me. But there are some other really great features. The etching in the lid is more prominent. The rulers are lined up better. You have a little bit of a well there to put that bar magnet. It does come with the bar magnet instead of the round ones. So I really do like those improved features. So I did pull out a Simon Says stamp die, the Love die. And as you can see there, I did make the shadow in red and the top layer in white. And I'm going to replace that die with, I'm going to replace the love on the stamp with the die. So Like and Adore You will be stamped, and then Love would be that die cut image. So I'm just using some Post-it tape to cut out or to cover up the sections of the stamp that I do not want to ink. I'm just going to put a little bit extra down there, just in case there's still some ink on that like. I don't want to have an extra like stamped on my card. Just going to go ahead and cover that up and put a second stamping. Make sure I get a clear, black, crisp image. And I did get a little bit of a smudge there. I guess when I covered that up with the Post-it note, a little bit of an edge got stamped, and that's okay. We're just going to go ahead and sand that off with a mono sand eraser. But in the meantime, I am going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment on the heart of the bear. Again, just going to say hello, love. Going to stamp that in the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. Going to give that another stamp and just to make sure it's crisp. And there I am using that mono sand eraser, and I was able to get that completely off. And then I'm going to go ahead and start putting my card together. Again, using my Nuvo glue, I'm going to go ahead and just dab on a little bit onto that top white love word. Of course, I had to drop it and get glue all over my map, but that's okay. It did wipe right up. And you do have to kind of fiddle with that and maneuver that to get that lined up correctly. But once you do, it is quite lovely. There were some little frayed edges from die cutting. Sometimes that happens. You just go ahead and take a little pokey tool like that and kind of run it along the insides or along the edges of the die cut, and that will remove those little frayed edges. So, I'm going to go ahead and start assembling that. And I did use a piece of that striped pattern paper. That striped pattern paper actually gave me two bases for the card. So this card and the next card will use that striped pattern paper, and that did comprise the whole sheet of it, so I didn't want to waste any of it. I'm going to go ahead and put that stamped panel on the top, and then I will go ahead and put my bear and my love die cut on. I had thought about taking the heart stencil that came with the kit, and I thought about applying some hearts, but I really was kind of in the mood for a nice, clean, white background. So as you can see here, there's a lot of open white space on this. The next card there will be the same. Of course, I could not finish the card without putting some sort of embellishments. So I am going to use the red hearts that did come with the kit, and I'm going to put some of the large and small ones on, and then also the honeybee white hearts. I'm going to go ahead and add some of those on also. The honeybee embellishments I bought specifically because I'm planning on casing a card that Nicole Spohr made. In fact, I'm actually going to start working on that today. She made a birthday card with honeybee Pinky. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but Pinky the pig. And I literally invested in every single item that she purchased because I wanted to completely and utterly case this card because I thought it was just the absolute most adorable card I have ever seen. So I did not have any of the items that she had. So I spent a pretty penny, I will admit, purchasing every single item that she used, so I can completely replicate this card. So I am planning on doing that, and then I want to see if I can make any changes to it. See if I can, use the items in different ways. I do like investing in things that I can use multiple times, multiple ways. So I do plan on working on that. I'm going to case hers first, and then I'm going to see what I can do in playing around with those items. When I put that video up, I will link to her video as well. It's completely her design. Again, it's going to be 100% cased. I really just want to make it because I just think it's adorable. But the credit completely goes to her, 100% her design. Most card makers will find that they are okay with you casing their items. And by the way, case stands for copy and share everything. You just want to make sure that you give the designer of the card their due credit for their designs. So anytime you're casing a card, please just make sure that you give credit to the original designer. Finish up adding those on. I think after I look at it, I go back and I'm like, I need a couple more. Yep, there I go. And I did add a couple more of those tiny little hearts on there just because I felt that there was some spots that needed it. Actually, looking at it now, I kind of like the way it looked now. I wasn't not sure what I was thinking when I was adding those on. But the final card turned out good too. Looking back, I remember that I wanted to cover the white love layer of that die cut with Wink of Stella and let that dry before I put it on. And then put some Wink of Stella on the heart of the bear as well. But I don't think I wound up doing that, and I'm not quite sure why. But that was it, and that was my final card. So the next two cards are going to be using the Sweet Truffles set that also came in the kit. This is the first time I'm using this stamp set. I've seen a lot of cards being made with it. Not as many as I've seen with the bear, however. But I wanted to incorporate some candies. Getting closer to Valentine's Day, I do like making some Valentine's cards. But again, this whole kit is not necessarily geared toward Valentine's Day. It's geared toward love. And who doesn't like candy any day of the year, right? Birthday, anniversary, Valentine's Day, Christmas. I mean, you could color these candies to be any situation that you wanted them to. But rolling with the Valentine's theme, I am going to go ahead and continue with some love themed cards, and I am going to go ahead and Copic color these truffles in. I did wound up making a lot more than I actually wound up using, but that's okay. Sometimes I like to stamp some extra images just in case I mess up, which I have a tendency of doing, especially when I'm Copic coloring. Again, I really enjoy Copic coloring, but it is not my strong suit. So I always like to stamp some extra images in case I make some mistakes and need to start over. Also, I found that even when using a Copic friendly ink, such as the Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink, which is what I've actually used here, if you wind up stamping the image more than once, you do want to let that dry a little bit. Even though it is a Copic friendly ink, I've noticed that if you stamp it more than once and there's more than one coating of ink on that image, it has a tendency of smearing. So every time I stamp and I have to re-stamp to get a crisper image, I do let that dry for a few moments just to make sure I'm not smearing anything when I'm Copic coloring in. I did go with a kind of a light blue, pink, and chocolate theme. I made my wrappers silver using some cool grays. So I am going to go ahead and put on some music so we can finish up the coloring, and then I will see you on the flip side when we go ahead and put this card together. have gone ahead and finished up my Copic coloring. What I'm going to do now is take the love stamp from that Love You Very Much main stamp set with the kit, and I'm going to stamp out the word love. This is the first time I'm using this stamp, so I will go ahead and just use my fingers and go ahead and rub it to hopefully remove some of that waxy residue that does get left on the stamp in the manufacturing process. I'm going to go ahead and stamp with Gina K Designs Red Velvet ink. I will stamp that twice. Again, this is the first time I'm using that stamp, so I want to make sure I get a nice crisp red image. It is usual that when you're using a stamp for the first time, you do have to stamp it a couple times. Go ahead and rub your fingers on it to get that residue off. So this is not unheard of. And then after I get that nice crisp image, I will go ahead and off camera die cut that out with the love die. I'm going to go ahead and start figuring how I want to lay my card, and I do know I want this to say love you, but I did not want to die cut the word you. So what I did was I took the stamp from that set that says like, love, and adore you, and I'm going to use that word you. So I'm going to place it where I want the you to be. Going to close my MISTI, go ahead and use another piece of Post-it tape to cover off the rest of the image that I do not want to stamp. And you can see that my stamp is stained from previous use. It is clean. It's just stained. Good stamps will stain when you use them, but it is clean, and I know it's clean, so I'm not concerned with getting that and adore image stamped on there. That is why I did not put an additional piece of Post-it down on the white panel as I was stamping it, because I do know that that stamp is clean. I'm going to go ahead and double stamp that because I like that crisp black image. And then I'm going to go ahead and start putting this card together. Again, using the second half of that piece of striped paper, we'll apply the white panel to the top of it. Using my Nouveau glue, going to go ahead and adhere that love die cut right above it, so it will say love you. And then I am going to go ahead and place my candies. I had prearranged it, so I took a picture with my phone, as you can see there. I just wanted to remember exactly how I wanted that laid out. You know, I really struggled with how I was going to embellish this card after, and what I wound up doing actually off camera, so unfortunately you're not going to see any of that, is I wound up using a Jelly Roll pen, and I did apply some white highlights. I think that's actually still going to be on film. But after that, I used the glossy accents that came with the kit, and I covered up some of the areas on the chocolate because chocolate is usually shiny and glossy looking. And then what I also did was I made some zigzag lines with that glossy accents, and then I took a light blue Nouveau drop and just made some drops as well. I didn't want to apply any more of the hearts, and like I said, I really just kind of struggled with how I was going to do that. So you will see the finished card here in a moment, and it will show some of those blue drops, and then more in the background, a little more difficult to see, unfortunately, is some of those little squiggly lines with the glossy accents. In real life, you can see them. They're raised, they're textured, they're kind of cute. You don't see them very well in this picture. And then for my last card, I am going to use the magenta glitter paper from Simon Says Stamp, as well as the honeybee scallop hearts. Went ahead and cut out a heart image from that paper. Again, using a piece of pattern paper. I did layer that on to a piece of that magenta glitter paper. I'm going to be using the heart image with some Lawn Fawn raspberry ink. And that stamp does say Hugs and Kisses, where the heart is the actual stamp image and the Hugs and Kisses is more of a recessed stamp, so that's not a stamped image. That would be white in this case, or whatever color your paper is going to be. I'm going to go ahead and adhere that on. Again, using my glue, put my stamped heart on top of the glitter heart. And when you are applying something on glitter, you do want to use either foam tape or a liquid glue. Just using your tape runner, it won't adhere. Glitter paper, for some reason, has a tendency to really want to repel tape runner, so you need to use a foam tape or a liquid glue. So I went ahead and just used a couple more of those truffles that I had colored out, glued the first two down, put some foam tape on that blue one, and then I'm just going to go ahead and also use some of those bright pink sequins that came with the kit, and I did break out my honeybee white hearts. I used to be okay with adhering sequins down and still having that hole in the middle. And then for some reason I developed an aversion to that. So now I try to cover up the hole with some other object, which is why you see those hearts on top of the sequins like that. The exception being the sequin that is kind of tucked under the candies there. So I'm going to add my highlights with my gel pen, and then that is going to be that last card. As always, guys, I hope that you enjoyed my cards. Please subscribe if you have not. Hit the bell so you can get notified when I make more video posts. And I hope to see everyone back for the next card video. Have a great day, guys. Bye.